This podcast is rated IS for incredibly silly and definitely contains bad words, bad jokes, and other bad content that should not be heard by anyone, least of all children. Or maybe it should be. We don't know. We're still not their parents. You're listening to the Starforge podcast with Scya and Mal, two nerdy humans who still have a lot to say about Star Wars: The Old Republic and all its features. Rest assured, the podcast is, as always, working as intended. This is episode 17, Operations Boss Championship, Part 2.
Part 2!
Welcome back, SWTOR players. I am Mal.
And I'm Scya.
And we are here with Part 2 of our Abscescrabmaganza.
No, we're here with our round 2 of our Operations Championship, where we pit Operation Boss versus Operation Boss, which are our favorites and which can go right in the trash can.
Straight to the trash can. All right, so we left off with our DP, which Scya and I both agree is the best.
Now, I've never even thought about which one is my favorite, but now that we've actually gone through boss by boss, I think you may have won me over for that one being my favorite operation. So now we're trying to figure out which one vies for second place. So we've gone through a lot of the classic operations that came out closer to the start of the game, and we're going to be jumping into some more operations that came out in the later half of the game's lifetime. They start getting a lot more interesting. Better, I think it's a mixed bag, but they were definitely trying out new stuff for these different operations that we're about to talk about.
Absolutely. So these came with an X-Pack. One related to the story, one kind of.
It always cracks me up. So the first two we're going to talk about are going to be called the Ravagers and then Temple of Sacrifice. Temple of Sacrifice is incredibly tied into the story of Shadow of Revan and Revan himself. And they made it so that when you... Oh my gosh, there's Revan in the Shadow of Revan expansion?
No.
Spoilers, sorry.
I need to drink less when I'm playing. I missed that entirely.
Might want to drink more. It'll make the story make more sense. Oh, that was mean. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're talking to the girl who thought your picture of the Starforge was a glove or pants or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Very first episode. Well, this is the Starforge podcast.
Focus, the Ravagers. God's sakes, be a professional.
Temple of Sacrifice is involved with the story, and you get the option to play the operation as part of the story, or you can do a solo-only kind of thing. Way more fun if you get to do the operation, but the game doesn't lock you out of progressing the storyline if you don't know how to do operations. Thank God.
No, you can do the solo mode and be stunned and knocked down for 15 seconds at a time.
No. You still have to do that if you do the operation. You get it as a bonus afterwards. The other one that we're going to start with is called the Ravagers, and this one is set to the planet of Rishi. There was 2 planets, Rishi and Yavin 4, and there was an operation for each planet. This one is just for fun. I always tell people I can never remember the story. The story is pirates. And that's about all there is to it. Pirates. And betrayal.
Yar. Scya.
So who do we got for bosses here?
Well, lay it on me. Oh, I'm sorry. Lay it on me, Scya.
So we got Sparky the Mama Dog, Quartermaster Bulo, the drunken pirate. There's beer everywhere.
Yar.
There's Torque the Chewbacca, the Wookiee. Master and Blaster, really fun fight we'll talk more about. And Koratani, the lady pirate with a pirate bird, a parrot. Is it called a parrot still if it's a giant flying bird that shoots acid?
I thought it was just a bird. It doesn't really look like a parrot.
That's what pirates have. Oh my God. Anyways, I really like this fight for bringing story mode groups in. It is really fun. I did this one this morning, and it really shines, I think, an example of a really good balance between fun mechanics, but it isn't too hard. I think we only wiped maybe once or twice, and I think that's a perfect amount that you want for a story mode group, especially when a lot of the players are new. You don't want to be running this sucker for 3 hours with a bunch of people who already feel like 40 minutes is a big commitment for something. And meanwhile, Mal is rolling her eyes because she likes to do nightmare mode raiding, and she's like, you get in here for 3 hours and you get out.
You work your fingers to the bone.
I know you're not as much of a fan of this one, though.
No, not a fan of this one. I don't really like the aesthetic of it.
Blah. Yeah, There's one fight that looks really good, but the rest,
I mean,
yeah, dirty, dingy, cramped.
yeah, there's story mode and there's only hard mode. There's no nightmare modes for these ones for whatever reason. But even still in hard mode, Master and Blaster, what a group killer those two are.
Hard, so hard.
It might be the most renowned boss in a hard mode for being the most pain in the ass. I think people would rather do Operator 9 than do Master Blaster. Definitely the most pain in the ass, except for perhaps most of Gods from the Machine.
Which we'll talk about. Oof.
And some of Duxon.
Oof. But yeah, I mentioned that we wipe once or twice in my story mode group on this one, and that's the fight. The Master and Blaster fight. Usually it's everyone kind of learning what the mechanics look like for the first time, but it's very satisfying once you complete it in the story mode. And it's probably the prettiest boss in the operation. I love seeing the kind of twilight setting sun skyline for that one. But running Master and Blaster in nightmare mode was so hard, but really satisfying once I figured out where to go. But it took me a really long time, and I was constantly letting my team down on that one, like directly killing them over and over, getting them knocked off the platform, killing them with bombs, killing them with the little guy. Just constant disappointing other people story right there.
It's like my problem I have with this, and also with TOS, is some of these fights are very hard unless you have gone into your settings text file directly to adjust your camera max distance zoom out. I don't know if you've ever talked about that on here.
No, but I just made a video about it very recently on youtube.com/Swtorista, how to zoom out more. And you can learn how to view the whole playing field instead of just a little bit that SWTOR shows you.
And to me, it's stupid to me that this is what you've made and this is what we have to do to the game, to go to these crazy lengths to get the camera in a position where you can see what's going on. There's a lot of things also that inexplicably go wrong in this fight, like people getting double bombs. And then sometimes you die and you die right in the spot you are at. And sometimes you die and you're way out in the corner of a room. It is very hard to res people in this fight. And it's not great. And I don't really like that droid. Somebody better fix me up.
What, you don't like the redneck droid?
Well,
it makes perfect Star Wars sense.
You've done it now. Here come the boss. I don't want that in my Star Wars.
I was going to start saying all the quotes, but I realized I just didn't want to. Not like Dread Palace, where it's like almost a compulsion to start repeating the quotes.
Yes, come closer.
See what I mean? She's caught by it. Quick, someone stop her.
Oh my God.
The Bulo fight, though, the drunken boss fight, there's so much going on. I have a really hard time properly raid leading this one because it's just like, okay, just stay out of the 6 million stuff that's going on the ground right now. Tanks, I know you can't keep aggro, but you need to because he's going to be pointing all at the group. Oh my God. It's okay. We'll just bail forward. It's fine. It's fine. We'll be fine. We'll be okay. But I do really enjoy just the silliness of it. It's so chaotic. You don't really wipe on it on story mode, even if everyone's standing in the bad stuff, but it's really funny. And then at the end of the fight, one of your teammates discovers the whole beer thing, and they're running around with a giant keg.
That is amusing. The one that amuses me the most, I think if I had to pick a favorite fight in here, I think I would pick Torque. Because I really love that he has a move called Sick of You. Blech! Sick of you. He throws you away.
And he knocks you across the room.
Bleh.
That fight has a lot of jokes, right?
Yeah, and then it has those like little fix for you droids. I fix it for you. I'm going to fix it. It just trudges out. Oh,
and the bad droid is called Shoots First. Yeah, that one's got good jokes.
Shoots lasers. Shoots lasers. Yes. I think that's very funny. And then like he's busting his own ship like buddy.
That fight always makes me a little claustrophobic. Like, I love all of those funny touches in there, and the fight itself is pretty good. It's got a lot of good mechanics, like pay attention, team, please don't kill the thing that's trying to fix our ship as our enemy tries to break it. But it's so cramped, and with the way the camera works, it's just not my ideal friend, especially with fire spawning all over the map.
Yeah, that is very hard if you have melee who are not as experienced or stuff doesn't render as quickly on their machine because those fire devices that pop up from the floor in there, whew, they will kill you dead. But everyone kind of has a job in that fight, and I tend to like those kinds of fights.
Yeah, they really do. Everyone has a job. Everyone has a responsibility. I know you have a lot to say about Koratani, though, which surprised me because Koratani, the final fight for me, is very, very forgettable. Like, I'm just kind of like, kill to this, kill to that, and then let's go.
It used to be more interesting. This whole zone used to be more interesting because the mechanics, you had to do the mechanics more, and it used to be more important to do it. Like, it used to be important on Bullo to have your tanks swap so that one of them could get the beer and round up the pirates and lead them to their death in the purple thing.
Right.
And you just really don't have to do that now.
No,
So
at
it
least not
kind
in
of
story mode. What about hard mode? Do you still have to? I haven't been in there in a long time.
No, not really. It's like it's such a face roll in hard mode now compared to what it used to be, except for Master Blaster. So I think that's how you can tell that fight is maybe a little bit off because it's just so much harder than the rest of them. But Koratani, you start off with Koratani and Pearl in this room. You used to have to, she would put fire on you. You used to have to put it out with these things in the ceiling. There were deck guns that would come out, Pearl's flying around crazy, taking people out. On hard mode, she does this thing called ricochet shot, and she puts it on a couple people, and you have to be careful. You have to cycle through people to absorb that ricochet shot. And then I like it because then after you fight Pearl, you kind of give a break. You get a break.
You do. You get a coffee break.
You get like a little coffee break.
That's important to you.
You get a Red Cross. The Red Cross can come and with their stretchers to
pick up all the
bring
dead
out
bodies.
your dead. Bring out your dead. You can raise people back up before you start the second part of the fight, which can be dicey.
Round 2, fight.
Round 2 can be a little dicey with all those
love
mouse
round
droids
2.
that come out.
In story mode, I always tell my teams, especially Team Chaos, which is made up of random people, many of them very new, I say, someone's going to die in this operation. I can't stop it. You guys can try to stop it, but they're going to die. Possibly multiple people will die. Let's watch who. From that hostage situation thing where everyone has to stop attacking, but it's never going to happen. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially now, you've got things like Stormwatch getting called down on the boss and everyone with their it's nice to have a break, though, in between.
So Mal let us know that Ravagers is kind of on the easier side of things these days, but its partner operation, Temple of Sacrifice, is anything but.
The second op in this series, that is tied to the main story, as we discussed, the Temple of Sacrifice, which features dun 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 Revan.
Cephas.
Cephas? I wish. It's better than Revan. Talks less. Anyway, in Temple of Sacrifice, we have Malafar the Savage, the Sword Squadron, the Underlurker, the Revanite Commanders, and Revan. This op has some features. Has some features in this operation. And when it launched, a lot of them were very difficult and very interesting. Some stuff we had never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Malafar, right off the bat, he has a circle. You stand in it. It buffs your DPS. Doesn't do anything for your heals, but it buffs your DPS real big, but it'll kill you dead a lot faster. So you have to kind of find that balance between your big DPS and getting out so that you don't die.
You put your big DPS in, you put your big DPS out. Your healers do the hokey pokey and they shake it all about.
And that's what that one is all about. I actually like that one because it has a great Theron voice cue for when the ads are coming out. I always love that.
Do you like the specific voice lines he does, or just the fact that you get a voice line to know the ads are coming out? I appreciate that.
I don't know what he's saying, but I know when I hear him talking that I gotta go get the ads or whatever.
Gotta go look for the ads. Who else we got in here?
The Sword Squadron. There's a lot going on. When that was at level, that one was very difficult. It was very difficult. You had to dodge the red circles. You have mine droids going out under people, grenades sucking you into the middle, grenades going out on people, the walkers doing that purple shit on the ground to one of the tanks. You got to run the bomb up the other one, splash damage. It was a lot.
So much. You were talking about everyone having a role, and that that fits this fight a lot as well. It reminds me a lot of the tank fight in Explosive Conflict. There's 2 tanks.
Mhm.
Everyone really needs to know their place, especially the tanks. Against the tanks, oh gosh.
It's an intricate dance, and you have to kill them together, just like the tanks, or they enrage and go cuckoo bananas. That's a good fight in this zone. The one after that, the Underlurker. God,
Such a cool concept.
good idea.
A cool concept.
In
If it works. Taking a deep breath here.
This might be the buggiest operations fight in all of SWTOR ever.
It is.
Of all time.
It gets the award. It wins. Just outright.
Every patch they patch, something breaks in this fight.
Let me explain this fight for someone who may have never seen it before. So during this fight, you fight a big boss. Okay, there's some cool mechanics. They're pretty standard stuff. But it will have a cross appear on the ground. The tanks have to stand in one spot, the healers and DPS in another, and you have to make like a cross shape. But what actually happens during this fight, Mal?
The cross doesn't work. It doesn't render right. The boss is too close to the wall, and the cross doesn't register people correctly. There's desync across players' screens where they think they're standing in the cross, but on my screen, they look like they're 5 feet out of the cross. It is a mess.
I see your next note is throw this fight in the garbage or fix it. And I think that's hilarious because in story mode, they did neither. They did somewhere halfway in between. In story mode, they did not throw it in the garbage to get rid of it, nor did they fix it. But instead, if everyone just piles on the boss like a big cuddle puddle, not actually trying to do the cross mechanic, it'll pass. I'm like, yeah, it works. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes there's other stuff in there that doesn't render right, like the rocks that fall from the ceiling. Sometimes the rock is down there on the ground on your screen, and if you brush by it, you die. It's just weird. I have never seen anything go wrong so much in a fight as it does in this. And also people just really, sometimes I don't know how much is really going wrong or how much people just don't know left, right, or get confused.
No, it
or
is.
Or what, but I think it just doesn't
bugs.
work. Yeah.
I've been recording this one with my stream, and I have my stream watching it while we're doing it. It is, even with people like Aravel, who is 110% on top of things, no, it's the game. Right in the poubelle, in the garbage, get some French in there.
Yeah, it's sometimes just no matter how much you jump, and really, like, if you can't fix it, just fucking throw this fight in the garbage. It's just...
But what is something we do love about this operation? What is worth getting through this stupid boss for?
Revan is such a legendary fight. And so many people lack this one in their achievements because it takes a lot of coordination and group togetherness. It's one of the hardest end fights in SWTOR hard mode rating.
I had a group working on this way back in the day, and we were not able to pass it, or I wasn't there the day we passed it, and we moved on. When we came at this in the last year or so with the raid team that I'm on with Mal, and we were able to complete it, that's probably one of the achievements that I'm proudest of for operations, because once again, everybody has a role in this fight that they need to play, and on top of that, there's a mechanic that can very easily kill you while you're supposed to be doing that role. And that is the push-pull operation stuff. And oh man, you could just die and it kills everybody. Like every time I'm playing it, I'm tanking it, I'm watching half my teammates kill themselves after like a really long, difficult fight. Ooh, it's so satisfying though. It's such a cool visual fight as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. Once you get it, once you know where you're supposed to be looking and how best to look there, it's very satisfying when you finally achieve this fight.
You're like, boom, 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 boom.
As a whole, though, now, like, the Revan fight, the whole fight used to be very challenging from top to bottom. Now you can power through a lot of it. It's
been made easier for sure.
Yeah, the challenge now is if you can have at least 2 people stay.
At the end, right?
I think you can, in 8-man, you just need like 2, maybe 3 people to finish it off.
So what's interesting is I don't know if that's going to hold true by the time the expansion hits, because some of the stuff that's easier, that's because of the damage checks, the healing checks, the tanking defensive checks. But that's all about to change, and we don't really know how in the expansion coming up here.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how that gets balanced. So,
No. Before we move on, I get to be angry. I have sat through this whole podcast and I didn't have anything to be truly angry about. Do I get to be angry?
Honey, you're with me. You can be as angry as you please for as long as you please.
I'm summoning my memories of taking in my 16 story mode groups, especially with new people into Temple of Sacrifice. Oh, getting a little angrier every second here. If you have been waiting for me to rage about what can go in the garbage, your time has come. Oh, this whole operation in story mode, in 16-man particularly, makes me so angry. For some reason, somebody, when they were tuning this for how difficult it should be, they took the notch and went click, 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 and just turned it all the way to 1,000. I don't know why, but we were talking about the... I'm so angry. We're doing the Sword Squadron fight. And in 16-man, for some reason, that is almost as difficult as hard mode if you have a newer team. There's a huge DPS check, which is why is there even a DPS check in story mode? People can auto-die so quickly. People can kill their entire group of 16 people just by placing one thing wrong. The bombs, we talked about Star Parse last episode. That's a great episode, by the way. You should go listen to it if you haven't already. The bombs are the only thing I have ever needed a timer in Star Parse for. A second, third-party app that somebody made that can tell me when I need to go do stuff, and if I don't do it exactly right, it cuts down on the time that my very mediocre DPS can even hit the dark boss. And not only that, you get into Underlurker and nothing's working. Nobody can see anything because half the reason they're mediocre is because they're playing on like laptops and stuff like that. They can't render stuff. They don't know left from right either. They're just learning. They're trying so hard. And then we wiped on, we didn't even talk about these guys, the Mandalorians. Like, experienced players.
The Revanite commanders?
Yeah, the Revanite commanders.
I'll paint the floor with your blood.
Kirk-a-dur, my warriors. Like experienced players like to make fun of this one, but I wiped multiple times on these bosses just from pure damage in 16-man story with my newbie groups, and I'm like, blah! But then you get to Revan. You spend 2 hours, and you get to Revan with this 16-man story mode group. Many of them are not experienced enough to get into like an organized group with parse checks or anything like that, and you get to Revan, and it is so worth it. It is so cool. And that's all I gotta say about that. Zen restored. And I'm so happy I get them there.
I am glad when they make the new raid that they are not going to do 16-man, because throughout the history of SWTOR, I don't know what they think when they're balancing 16-man. Some of them are fine. Some of them are very strange. Super weird.
For the standard operations, that's the only one that's been really rough for us, except for Gods, and Gods is rough. Well, we'll talk more about that soon.
By soon, you mean right now, because...
And now, the weirdest operation in the game, Gods from the Machine. So we're going to be talking about a couple different bosses here. We're going to be talking about Tithe, the pair of Vela and Esna, Nahoot, the stealth boss. I still don't know how to say his name right.
I think they say Nahat.
Nahat. Nahat the butt.
Nahooty hoot.
Skyva. And Isaacs.
Nahooty and the blowfish.
Oh my God. So they released this operation after players had been saying, please give us a harder, more mechanics-heavy operation. We like the mechanics. And I think this is still true. I think if people were asked, would you like an operation more like Karaga's Palace or more like Revan, Temple of Sacrifice, people will say the one with more mechanics pretty much every time. I think if they've actually played them and had a good experience in them. And they really went hardcore and made a mechanics-heavy operation. I don't really know what their endgame goal was, but dang, if you want mechanics, this operation has got them. So every time I play this operation, I want to cry a little. It is a very cool operation. Don't let me deter you from trying it. But it came out in 2017. It's been about 5 years now almost, and I still can't explain the mechanics well enough to a new group to let them pass it without tons of frustration. I am so grateful to those friendly raid leaders who are willing to explain it patiently and calmly and lead us through the puzzle. If we're talking about garbages, that puzzle. That one puzzle in Gobs from Machine, if we're picking one thing in the entire operations that can go in the garbage, that is my pick.
The bosses all have mechanics. A lot of people really like this one because it is really hard. And you know, people in the raiding community, we all want to feel big and special. Mechanics were so good. The trash in this zone is too much. Get rid of it. I understand at the time they were doling this out piecemeal. Okay, fine. So instead of giving somebody something that took 5 minutes, you threw some trash in, so now it took 15. But you put all that together, it's too much. A lot of groups, you know, we do it and we're like, God, I don't want to come back here. I don't want to walk down all these dark, stupid sewer corridors to get where I'm going. That's not fun. I don't think that's fun. To me, I don't like it. And that puzzle, ugh, God.
Garbage.
We're back to puzzles again. Put the droids, make them shoot the laser to open the door. Open the door to the boss that takes like 25 fucking minutes to kill.
We're not talking about Isaacs yet. That goes at the very end because that's going to take a while.
Yeah, we don't want the trash can to get too full before we get to Isaacs.
You mentioned about the Nightmare Mode raiding community. So there is the full story, hard mode, Nightmare Mode of this one. Of all the operations in the game, including the newest one, this is the only operation that I have not stepped even a single foot into hard mode. And if I don't even understand story mode, to be honest, I'm not sure I want to or even should step foot into hard mode. Like our Nightmare Mode group honestly hasn't even discussed going into Gods from the Machine. It's never even come up as a potential option. So to be honest, if we're picking what to throw out the airlock, maybe throw me out the airlock, because compared to running Gods from Machine, I might be happier if you don't even put me on Iocath.
A lot of us, we've done it hard mode at least, but it was like, that's enough. I don't want to do this. The trash is... No, didn't we do this one on hard mode? We just didn't do Isaacs. Didn't we do it up to Isaacs?
If we do, I've blocked it out of my memory entirely.
Oof, I thought that we did it up to Isaacs. I don't know what...
So I do. I really like the Avella and Esna fight. I know you don't like this one, the one with the two colors. I really like this one a lot. This is the one where I actually fully understand what's going on and what the colors are and stuff like that. And I actually like the extra mechanic of watching for them. But I thought it was really funny. Why don't you like this one?
I don't like a lot of the fights in here because for the first time ever in SWTOR, we are given these items that we pick up in the raid that do 1 or 2 or 3 things, and I now have to manage those extra things on top of the other things that I already have, and I just really don't like that.
And I was cracking up because you mentioned you didn't like it especially because your keybinds. You are a fully keybound player. I'm a dirty clicker, and this fight actually suits me just fine because I just move my mouse 5 centimeters up from where it normally goes. This is the only time in the world being a clicker is useful.
I guess the problem on the 2 droids in hard mode is that the laser wiper blades come out, and there's like no time. Sometimes you have to change those colors so fast.
I learned from our last episode that you should always be clicking in our Star Wars episode, so get on it. What do you think about the toilet bowl boss? I'm very curious. So there's the boss where you don't actually fight anything, but you have to work together and slowly cross a sniper field in a shield. While in story mode, it's pretty funny to watch someone get punted off. It's kind of a very tedious fight.
Is that a fight? That to me is just more trash. That's just like more crap on the way to the boss. And the boss after that is Scya. Scya is very hard.
I don't know what's going on there. I have read like 3 different guides about it, and I almost imploded my poor group the last time I ran this because I'm like, I don't freaking know what's going on, and I keep getting you guys killed, and I'm sorry.
There is a lot going on off the top. There's stuff for everybody to do. It can be very touchy. And the part where she's down and the floor, like the purple, is going around the little circular treadmill on the floor, sometimes it's really hard to see. if it's coming,
Yes.
especially if someone has just like pooped a Colto bomb down in the floor. You don't know what the fuck color. Oh my God.
Stop pooping on the floor.
What does purple and green make? It makes a mess.
I think that's the hardest stay out of the bad stuff on the floor fight in the entire game. Even in story mode, it's really hard. And if your group can't stay out of the bad stuff in this fight, they will die. And there's not much you can only heal them through so much. And it's such a crowded little area.
Yeah, it's really crowded. I guess if I had to pick one fight to keep from here, Nahut, I kind of like.
You like the stealth boss. That one I kind of understand halfway. And every time I think I get it, I find something else to screw up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a little tedious because you have to keep throwing that stupid candle at it. But I don't know. I just like it better than Tithe. Funnily enough, in hard mode, if you have enough DPS, some people you just fucking power through it.
Tithe, right?
You have the other tank round up all the ads, kite like 80 ads around the room away from him, just zerg the boss down. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I don't mind Tithe. Tithe is the only one that feels like a normal difficulty mechanics level operation boss in both story and hard, I think.
Yeah. And then Isaac's.
Isaacs. Okay.
Oh, God.
Before you get into nightmare mode, I want to have a little rant about Isaacs for story mode. Okay. So like I mentioned, I like to bring in these newer groups that may have never run anything before. And it's already really, really hard to get through those other bosses. I feel like I'm failing my way forward every time we do those. Half my group is dead. I don't know if we learned anything. And then the final fight is so rough to get to and so rough to complete. But it's so cool. You get to fight a giant dragon. Like, it's worth it to at least see it once. I do wish it was tuned a little easier in story mode, though. If you have to do all that to get there and you have to fight for 20 minutes straight, it should be like a guaranteed pass. Like, come on. If you had to run that 3 rounds, you'd be fighting it for an hour.
It has too much health. It's too long. It's just too long. Keep the mechanics, I guess, but it's too long. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it.
I'd like to do it more if I knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I know like a little what's going on in hard mode now, but our group did it, and then we were kind of like, now that's done. And we're never going back again.
Next episode, Mal starts nightmare mode. Gods from the machine.
Ugh, no thank you.
They did a bit of a transition for the next operation. They listened to the idea that people wanted mechanics. They don't like no mechanics, but we didn't quite need quite so many mechanics. Ugh. And that's where we got Nature of Progress.
Yes, the very last operation in SWTOR, for now, is the Nature of Progress, which we all call Duxin. So in Duxin, you will find red, followed by large trash pull 1, or the holding pens, followed by large trash pull 2, or the control center, the Trandoshans, the mutant Trandoshans, the Huntsmaster, and the Apex Vanguard.
When I was first trying to learn about this operation, because I was like, I'm not going to run it right when it comes out. I'm not quite ready for that right now. I wasn't running operations super frequently when it was first released. I tried my best to look up and learn about the bosses, but I was very confused. I couldn't even figure out which one were bosses or stuff like that. And I think it's really funny that you actually labeled bosses number 2 and 3 as trash pulls, because I consider them full bosses. Like, they have all the mechanics of a boss. There's just no specific big bad guy that you fight at the end.
Yeah, those are like very, like, what is this? You just run through the jungle fighting trash.
I like them. They're so weird. Oh, maybe it's because you're a DPS. I feel like as a tank, I feel like there's just as many mechanics for me to watch out for as any other fight.
There is. I just,
So if you call those I know there is something you like about this operation, though.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, first of all, that I don't like, that I've always liked before, and that is the voiceover and the lines, the legendary one-liners, the amazing sound cues that help with fight changes, the ambiance they provide. This one, what a miss. What a miss in this one. When we first went into this one, we were all trying to talk to each other, and at one point, I think it was Bam, he was like, can they shut the fuck up so we can talk about this raid right now?
So the devs had the idea that the enemies, or rather someone in your ear, someone helping you, would tell you what to do in the operation. It would be done in a thematic way, and it's actually kind of cool. But the problem is, in any group where you're actually working together, you're in voice chat. You're telling each other what to do.
It's too much. They talk too much. And for whatever reason, it's like it's not mixed right. Like it's mixed too loud or something. It's just, they're always in your ear. Ooh, Red's escaped her pen.
They're a little chatty, a little too much.
Cynthium de Pillum.
I think I would love it. I would love it if I was not in voice chat, but this one is honestly a little too hard for the mechanics that I wouldn't want to be in voice chat in the first place. And I tell my teams, this is one, you gotta come listen to me, and you gotta come listen to me live, because I'm gonna be shouting out a lot of stuff. Let's run.
Yeah, this is a really strange one, from story mode to hard mode to nightmare, especially like, and then there's more shit you have to pick up. Ugh. Red is okay.
I'm so proud we did hard mode though.
Yeah,
oh, I am so proud. Big achievement for me. A+, Swtorista. Have you done nightmare mode for this one?
I've done a couple bosses in nightmare, but not the whole thing.
So there is a really funny fight after you do the silly running fight where there's no real boss at the end. You get to fight an actual boss. What's that?
That's the mutant Trandoshan fight. And I feel like when we got to that fight, we were like, thank goodness, a fight that has some semblance of normalcy.
Actual bosses.
It's just that it's funny because it starts with just 2 of them. So one tank takes, 1 each. Okay, but then more of them come and you're like, okay, so one of them's got to be kited by a DPS while one tank manages 2 of them while the other one's getting knocked into canisters. And then finally you get them on the tracks and you call a train to run them over.
Like, who thought of this? They must have been laughing so hard in the developer office when they were like, you know what? We should just have a bunch of giant Teenage Mutant Ninja Transitions and we're going to run them over with a train to complete this fight. Yep, let's get...
Yeah, you just go to this panel and call a train. Wish I could do that. Just walk out, call a train. I could call an Uber, but not a train.
Unfortunately, this train does not have any safety features, so I really wouldn't recommend calling this one near your house. You may lose some of your neighbors.
No, and this is funny. It's funny that sometimes 16-man is harder. This fight in 16-man is actually much, much easier because you have enough people. You can even carry an extra tank with you to help you manage what's going on. And as I was doing this with a group in 16-man, they found that it's easier to just kill all of them.
Right. Run them all over.
The whole fight can take like 4 minutes. 4 minutes, boop, and then you just run all of them over with one train.
I like that there is especially all kinds of interesting achievements for this one. Most of them are going to be for the more difficult modes, but I love that they added those achievements. Is there one for killing all the transitions at once? If not, there better be.
There is.
Yes.
It's called Pain Train.
Okay.
I actually,
so we move on.
I do like that you mentioned the achievements. I do like that they have those kind of fun individual achievements because for a lot of the legacy operations, all there is surviving. Like maybe they'll go back and think of like new fun ones to add into the old ops. I think that could really refresh them.
Definitely think it added to the longevity of this operation, especially because there was such a length of time in between that one and whatever the next one was going to be. It gave those players who are at that super high skill level something to do, but didn't take anything away from players who were just working at it at a more normal, more story mode or hard mode pace. And it's very fun to watch those players go after those hard achievements because they're hardcore. They're like, we put this group together and it was hard to even get people at this skill level, much less who wanted to bang their heads against this silly transition stuff going on here.
So after the Trandoshans, forget that thing. God, that thing with the steps. Who thought that was a good idea? Isn't that cute the first time? And then after that,
it's funny the first time. Yes. It's funny. Yes. I laughed really hard the first time you guys took me in there and we saw it. But after that, just, okay, that one can also go in the garbage. Oh, but then there's another boss after you finish the stairs.
The Huntsmaster.
That is...
The Huntsmaster.
Like, I love the idea to fight a giant crab and its name is Shelly, because that's my tortoise's name, and I get excited every time I see that nameplate pop up. But that is the only good thing about that fight. Oh, and telling your teammate to go in the water to get eaten by Shelly. That's also very funny.
This fight is so buggy. It doesn't work right. He doesn't render right. The light is weird. He's supposed to be in the light, and a lot of times, he's not in the light.
And when Mal's saying light here, she's talking about a mechanic, not, the ceiling light.
No.
I remember learning this with our group, and I just remember seeing a bug every single round that we played. And the fight itself is really not that hard. The mechanics were not too bad, and I learned them pretty quickly. But the amount of bugs there were made it very hard to learn these easier mechanics, because I didn't know what was a bug and what was normal, what was I seeing, what was my team seeing was often different. I was just like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they do these things that are like so graphics intensive, and it didn't work right. And then there's the part where he goes into his little holdout thing and like rip your DPS if you're on anything but a 35-meter class, which to me is stupid. That's just stupid. That's just telling people, oh, if you really want to beat this fight at a high level, you all need to be on a 35-meter class. I think that's dumb.
There's only a couple of those. Boo! But then we move on to Apex Vanguard, which makes me angry that my advanced class name is in its name. But the fight itself is pretty cool, in my opinion. I remember, like I said, I knew I wasn't going to be playing this right away, and I happened to catch someone live streaming that they were doing this boss, and I saw them filling the room with sprinklers of water, and I was just like, what? That's something you can do and see in an operation fight? That is so cool, and I really wanted to go run this eventually somewhere down the road. And I do like this one. There's a lot going on, and I like how it does get a lot more complex between story, hard mode, and master mode. Literally more terminals turn on between the three.
Yeah, and even in 16-man, I pulled this in 16-man hard mode. Wow, the DPS check is very, very significant for 16-man.
Very similar. Everybody's got a role and they got to do it.
Yeah, everybody's got to be doing 18 to 19K at least. Like people could not be carried.
So even with that one being really hard, do you like it?
I do.
I wouldn't say I love it, but I think it's okay.
My problem with it is kind of the same problem I have with Terror. Like once you get it, when you have a very good battery runner and you have a very good flare thrower,
it just goes.
It's really boring. It's really boring.
It's long. Yeah.
Because as a DP, you're not really doing much, right? Like what are you doing? Walking back and forth from cubby to cubby, popping some cooldowns, cleansing the contagion. That's all you're doing, though. It's not really... Once you get it down, it's just a very grueling, long, boring fight, eventually.
And that concludes a single operation in the game. Did we make any big revelations today, Mal?
Well, let's quickly go back for this one. I think the Trandoshans is my favorite. What was your favorite from this one, from Duxon?
I honestly like the running fight. I know that's really not many people's favorite, but it's really unique to me, and I like the act of running around.
I did that once in story mode.
Story mode.
When you do the running fight, the first one in story mode, usually the DPS grab up all the stims so that they can do damage. I did this in a pug. I was the only one not in voice chat, and I looked at them, and they were all standing by the door. All 7 of them had 1 stim and 1 flare each. And I felt like they were all looking at me like I was stupid. And I was
They each had a flare? They had a flare?
They each had 1 stim and 1 flare. And I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening right now. And I felt like they were all looking at me like I was the dummy.
I mentioned earlier that I tell people if you're going to run this one with me, you got to be in voice chat. Well, that's the kind of reason that I explained why.
I wasn't invited to voice chat.
Suck it.
That happened to me the other day. I did Styrac hard mode, and at one point, somebody put all these markers down on the ground, and I was like, I don't really understand what this is supposed to be for.
It's okay. You do enough DPS that it doesn't matter.
They put a marker down, and I was like, I don't know what this means, but there is no way that I'm standing there. So that's all I have to say about that. So I guess that is part 2 of our Operations Championship.
We made it through, and hopefully we'll get to play the new operation sooner rather than later, the R4 anomaly, and we'll be able to rate it as well. What will go in the garbage and what will stay on our operation plate.
All right, and now just for consistency's sake, and because I love to hear your sweet, sweet voice, Scya, why don't you tell us the news? You heard it here last.
If this episode comes out on the day that I think it's coming out, the expansion has already launched on February 15th. Congratulations, you made it. Yay, have fun. I hope you're enjoying the story. Remember to be kind about spoilers, give people some time to play it, and I hope you enjoy the new combat style stuff, and I hope the gearing system is working totally fine with 0 bugs and loadouts work exactly as expected. Oh, I'm being real optimistic for the future here. I'm going to regret this later. But other than that, you will have the Pirate Incursion, the Dantooine event, coming up on February 22nd to March 1st. And don't forget, you can still pick up your anniversary rewards. And if you have already picked them up, the new ones should now be available from the anniversary vendor. So go pick those up as well.
All right, and that is our part 2 episode about operations concluded. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. I know a couple of you always have such nice things to say, and we love to hear it.
I want to know which bosses of part 2 can go straight in the garbage. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Starforge podcast with Scya and Mal. We know you have your choice of podcasts, and you chose the right one. New episodes drop every Friday on Google and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Swtorista's YouTube channel, and just about every other podcast platform in existence. For show notes, pictures, and other information, visit starforgepodcast.com. Hit us up on Twitter at StarforgeCast. We love hearing from you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all next week. If this episode comes out the day that I think it's coming out, the operation... expansion...